everyone, and welcome to A Gem of a Secret podcast. My name's Donatella My Secrets.
And my name is Coco Gem Holiday.
How you doing tonight, Coco?
Actually, tonight, no, just joking. I'm actually doing really, really good tonight because we have another interview episode coming up later after the break.
And it's an international guest that we're interviewing this time around.
I know, I'm so excited about that.
I know. From Barcelona.
It just reminds me of the Cheetah Girls.
Or is that Barcelona? Oh, the Cheetah Girls too. Oh my gosh.
In Barcelona.
Amigas, cheetahs, friends for life. Oh, yes.
We're idiots. I'm so sorry.
Speaking of the Cheetah Girls, what are you wearing tonight, Coco?
All cheetah print. Not because I just thought of it,
Oh.
but because I was like really feeling my Barcelona fantasy. So I'm wearing the exact same outfit that Raven was wearing at the end of Cheetah Girls 2, which is like a hat with my hair just boiling out of it, but it's all cheetah print and it's kind of a bodysuit, but I have one leg flared out.
Nice. I am wearing what Shania Twain wore in the desert when she was wearing that full-on cheetah outfit from the 90s music video that she was in. I think it was that Don't Impress Me Much.
You don't impress me much.
With the matching cheetah luggage.
Oh, well, yeah.
I mean, you got to, right?
That's what we're sitting on right now while we're recording this.
Yeah.
Gosh,
we both look so good.
I know, we're always so done up for these episodes.
I know.
It's ridiculous.
Because we have to.
Because we're drag queens and we're professional and we just want to show our listeners that we do this every time.
Yeah, there's no video component to the episode, but we do this for you.
Listeners, we love you.
We work so hard. Look at all the good we do.
Oh my gosh, it's so great. And so the other thing that I wanted to talk about with our special guest that we have coming up later this evening is that we actually had to record this episode at a specific time to actually get the timing right because obviously they're in Barcelona.
Yeah, so it's, damn near midnight. But you know what? That's the cool thing about this interview is that we have the opportunity with this podcast. Ever since we started our Instagram, we've been getting a lot of really cool reach from people, and this is neat. It's all from Instagram that we met this band. The band is called Las Marikarmen, and we will be interviewing from Las Marikarmen, Contàmina. And we're just going to kind of get into what the world of queer anarchist music is about in Barcelona.
Yeah, I'm super about that.
Yeah.
Because as we know, we live in Portland, Oregon, as we say 1,000 times.
Yes.
And we very much know many people who are anarchists and trying to change the world by burning it down and rebuilding.
Yeah.
And there is a lot to be said about that. Some of these systems are broken and they're broken beyond repair. That's what I meant to say. They're broken beyond repair and it's time to rebuild.
I think, this summer alone, like if you didn't see that these systems are broken just from this summer, then and some people have been saying it all along because they've been anarchists for such a long time. But really, if you weren't able to see that, we're in need of not just, honestly, we've been saying healing on this podcast, but we are in need of some complete revamping as well.
Oh, absolutely. And the other thing that I want to say about that is when we look at the global pandemic too, we know that even with a Biden presidency in the first 100 days, like we are still going to be in this for a long time. Mm-hmm. And I do blame the last administration for their poor handling of this global pandemic that has put us in this zone to where we just don't even know what we're going to do. Like that system does feel broken beyond repair. And I know it completely scraps itself every 4 years.
Yeah.
But there was so much damage done in just 4 years alone. So.
Yeah. Even how we elect, that's something that we need to take a serious look at changing too.
Burn it to the ground.
Yeah, let's burn it all.
Yeah, but before we get too into that, I always need to ask this one question because, as you remember, I forget Donna's feelings constantly. So, Donna, how are you doing this evening?
Coco, I just have a lot of feelings, and I'll let you know after this brief musical break. Here is a song from Las Marikarmen.
We're interrupting this program to bring you a special message from the Women's Army.
Quick, Army.
Hetero-patriarchy is the opiate of the masses.
Maricas, trans, trabolos, bolleras, monstruas, putas, desalojadas.
The world of heterosexualism is sick and borderline.
He sido la travesti más guapa del mundo. Soy el Lady Boy, travesti yo no soy barata. Tengo diamantes escondido en el bocata. Pierna larga, mini falda, toda una niñata. Callarme, puta boca piñata. Damos traje en escena, digieres de este tema. Que tu mente cena, ajena. Trabolo en tu barrio, mira tú que quema. Cuidado si estás cerca, también te quema. Lady, lady, lady boy, lady boy, lady boy, lady, lady, lady boy, boy. Lady, lady, lady boy, lady boy, lady boy, lady, lady, lady boy, boy. Lady, lady, lady boy, lady boy, lady boy, lady, lady, lady boy, boy. Lady, lady, lady boy, lady boy, lady boy, lady, lady, lady boy, boy.
I'll go to the front. I'm not kidding. I am not on display for you to yell bitch or baby.
Binary disease.
You got a fucking right to be hostile.
Меня не существует, я неизвестный пол.
Te quedas pasmajoa con mi caminar, mis uñas, mi barba, mis tacones de matar. Tu armario de deseo da asquito, chaval. No soy solo porno, déjame dominar. Las muestras en escena, digieres de este tema. Que tu mente cena, cena. Trabolo en tu barrio, mira tú que quema. Cuidado si te acercas que también te quema. Lady, lady, lady boy, lady boy, lady boy, lady, lady, lady boy, boy. Lady, lady, lady boy, lady boy, lady boy, lady, lady, lady boy, boy. Lady, lady, lady boy, lady boy, lady boy, lady, lady, lady boy, boy. Lady, lady, lady boy, lady boy, lady boy, lady, lady, lady boy, boy. Lady, lady boy, lady boy, lady boy, lady, 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 lady boy. Lady, lady, lady boy, lady boy.
Mira esa Lady Boy del barrio precario. Viene a romper las reglas del escenario. Junta los opuestos, dale a no binario. Tu mente yo quiero salir del armario.
Fucking right to be hostile.
Lady boy,
this is the new feminism. If you don't like it, suck my dick.
It's a podcast with Coco and Donna, podcast. Tune into what they tell you podcast with Coco and Donna, podcast.
And today, Coco, I'm feeling great because we have a really awesome guest from the band Las Marikarmen. We have Contàmina.
Good morning.
Good
or
morning.
evening,
How
your
are
time.
you? I love. Ooh.
Good. I got up really early because I'm so dedicated to drag.
Yes. Well, we really do
I'm-
appreciate it.
That's so funny. Oh, can we ask you what pronoun? What are your performer pronouns?
I prefer they, but I also go with he if I'm looking like I am today, or with the beard and everything. If I'm in drag, I also have a beard, so they is also good. If you say she or it or that monster thing or whatever, the zucchini, I'm
The
fine.
zucchini. Oh.
As long as you're talking to me, it's okay. The only thing I don't like is when the police say caballero, which is like that man riding the horse,
Oh,
as
yeah.
they say for Mister.
Yeah.
Or if
Oh my gosh, that's so.
someone's just constantly saying Mister, Mister, I'm like,
Okay, enough. Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. Okay, well, that monster over there. I like to respect pronouns.
I liked zucchini.
Zucchini was kind of cool.
I don't know. I just made that up now.
We're just going to talk about that for the rest of the episode. Yeah, so let's go ahead and get into it.
Yeah. Give us a brief synopsis kind of on like who you are, where the name Las Marikarmen comes from, and how you all met.
Well, Las Marikarmen is a story. We were very active in the squatting scene in Barcelona, opening old houses that haven't been used for many, many years. And in Europe, especially everywhere, there's lots of houses that are completely broken. So we entered into this old house, and there were pictures of grannies all over the walls, and we just fell in love with the folkloricness of this house. And we ended up taking the name Las Marikarmen from this woman who tried to kick us out of the house. She also wanted to squat it, and her name was Marikarmen. And we thought, this woman who's like breaking down the door and shouting at us and shouting at the police and everything, like, she's a punk. She doesn't know it, but she's definitely a punk. Like, okay, she tried to kick us out of her house, but she's cool. So we took the image of this grandmother who built the house, and this woman was a real pioneer from the 1800s. She built the house herself. She was taking photographs of the mountains and putting them in this book, and drawing maps of the entire mountainous areas here around Barcelona. So we merged her face with this punk squatter's name, and we got Marikarmen. And then we changed. Marikarmen is a folkloric grandma's name as well, and we changed the C to a K to represent kind of the anarchist way of writing things here. And marica, which is the first part of Marikarmen, is also similar to sissy or queer. It's a word that's been re-owned by queer activists here.
That's really cool.
So Las Marikarmen is just a genderqueer name for a legendary group with lots of history.
That's really cool.
That's awesome.
Actually.
Yeah.
Gosh, is that on your website somewhere? I feel like that's a great story.
Yes, I'm reading it right now, too.
Oh, nice.
Simplifying it because we put a lot of text on the website.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely.
For sure. That's awesome. How would you describe your sound?
Now we're really digital, electronic beats, trap, hip-hop, rap, but with saxophones and flutes and sometimes a clarinet or a trumpet.
Yeah.
So
I noticed
we started out as an acoustic band. And we had this big drum from Bulgaria, and I played the saxophone, and someone was singing. And it was very drum and bass acoustic, and I wanted to keep it that way. And then we kept adding instruments, we kept adding synthesizers, electric bass, more saxophones. I think we were 6 people playing 4 saxophones and all these other instruments. People left the band, and then we narrowed it down to a synthesizer playing the beats with a backing track playing the drums and 2 saxophones. And that's where we are now.
That's awesome.
Since about a year.
Yeah. I noticed from the documentary on your guys' channel that you said something about using kind of unconventional materials for your sound too, and I thought that was really neat.
Yeah, for percussion stuff, I would sample random things, or we're using samples that we find free on the internet of weird sounds. I love the ones that go like, oh. It's called a war horn.
Yeah.
From Tibet or Nepal or something.
Well, and I find that to be interesting too. Like, so when I was watching the music videos and actually listening to the sound, earlier stuff to now, like, I am really fascinated by the artistry in the sense of like the things that you all come up with. Like, where the hell does that even come from? Like,
yeah, the creative direction.
I mean, I know I appreciate acid, but like, I don't know.
And that's the weird thing. None of us take drugs. Like, these things come out of my dreams. I don't know, the way I dress, I wasn't very good at makeup, so I thought, what can I glue to my face to make myself look crazier? And I came up with these big eyelashes, and I was like, oh, that's it. And then I just find some cloth, and I put it on and tie it with a rope. I'm like, yeah, that looks good.
Yeah, that's drag.
You know, other drag queens say if you're not wearing nails, you're not doing drag. So I don't want to glue nails to my fingers all the time, so I put them on the nail gloves.
Yes.
And sometimes I'll put like big pieces of paper on if the rest of my face is done in paper, or just trying to be creative.
For real.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's I like this doll.
Did you make the doll version of
Yeah,
Contàmina?
the doll is the doll is in the likeness of Contàmina,
Yeah,
Perpétua.
yeah, I love it.
And this is how I do my eyebrows with big paper sometimes.
Yeah.
And, I paint myself. Use black lips are better than pink or red or something.
I love a black lip.
And then with all the chest hair and
So actually, let's talk about the characters themselves. Actually, looking at your doll, I wanted to know, just along that same track there. So, because obviously you could play instruments or non-conventional instruments without getting all dolled up if you chose to. So,
That
where
would
did
be
that
boring.
come from?
Yeah, it would be boring.
I mean, we're all queer. We all love drag. We weren't doing drag at the beginning because we didn't know much about it or how to do it, but I've always done theater. And originally I was thinking, well, let's do a band and we all dress up as monkeys or chickens or and those costumes were way too difficult. And we're like, well, let's just put on some eyeshadow and some lipstick and okay, it's born. And if you see the original photos where you look like
There's an evolution there.
and yeah, now we still don't do full drag makeup, but a little bit of eyeliner and some lipstick and some crazy hair and a big dress, and it's done. And
It's beautiful. Actually, I like how artistic it is, because here's the thing about drag. I mean, we all know the old adage, you're born naked and the rest is drag. Like, levels of drag, like, it's still drag. It is. Like, like, yeah, sure, you might not like look like Lady Bunny or something, but it's not but Lady Bunny doesn't always have to do all of that to still be considered drag.
Any display, really, any kind of creative display on your body is drag,
Yeah.
It's wearable art.
exactly, that's what we think too.
Yeah, my
Like,
definition
we
for
have-
drag is that as well.
We have one drag king, and she cuts the hairs of anywhere of her body and puts it on her face.
I've seen kings do that before. I think it's a useful technique, I think.
That's actually really
it beats
smart.
having to get costume hair, and that stuff is probably yeah.
Of course, and when she runs out of body hair, she cuts the hairs off her dog. Or
Nice.
every time we shave, we give her our hair too.
Yeah. I saw in the documentary too, she said this one's from a friend.
Yes.
That's actually kind of cool. That'd be
Yeah.
interesting to do. And I'm like, that's kind of creative.
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
one question we didn't have written down, but I think it's important. You said you all been playing together for roughly over a year, or how long?
Victoria and I have been playing together for 6 years or so.
Oh, wow.
Making different bands, playing on the streets or with theater groups that do live music. Then Masha, or Capitano Barbaconio, Captain Pussybeard in English,
Yes.
joined us about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years.
Wow.
And then we had been playing with other people for the past 3 or 4 years in the band, in this format, changing all the time.
Yeah, so it's kind of been a bit of a collective, and you've had different iterations of
It's been more of a roller coaster than a collective.
Oh,
like people
okay.
coming and going. But
I get how that
Like-
goes. Yeah.
Gosh, I've been there.
like ordering business cards and paying for a website for 3 years, and then the person I founded the band with decided to go do something else
Yeah.
just before confinement. But I hold no grudges, and this was very good for us actually, because with the person who was the most musical, I guess, like the most exact in how we played the music, once he left, and he was the only cis man who was in the group, once he left, everyone felt free to sing and to sing badly and to try something different, and it was very empowering and freeing for us,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
And being just three, it was a lot easier to meet rehearsals and to find consensus for music. And since the confinement hit right at that moment, we had all the time in the world to create, and that's where we came up with the album,
Yeah.
Compost Your Gender.
Yeah. It sounds
And
like you
we
did better
produced-
without that oppressive cis energy.
Oppressive cis energy. Gosh, I feel like the world should be called.
And we did 11 songs. I wrote, or I created like 3 songs in the computer in Ableton. We learned how to use Ableton and how to do video conferences like this. For us, the confinement and changing of the band was perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like, honestly, for a lot of artists, the confinement has been beneficial because you get a lot of time to look inward and just really figure out what it is that you want to put out there on these platforms.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it was for us.
Yeah, for sure.
Not me. I'm gonna fully say that out there.
It hasn't.
I was not creative at all. I think I just caught up on not being an artist for a little while, and I think so. I took it as a break. It was a sabbatical. I took a sabbatical. That's what happened.
Yeah.
So, what are some of the main key messages that you want to push forward with your music?
Especially in your recent album.
Yeah.
I mean, we want people to compost their gender. You know, we are rural queens and kings, so we are very religious about the compost. Everything that we don't eat goes to the chickens or to the garden. And you can do the same thing with your gender. If you don't need that gender, put it in the compost, decide how long you want to wait, and then something else will come out. So, in fact, we're working on an app where you can do that. You can put in whatever gender you think you have now, say how many years or minutes you want to wait, and then emojis will pop out. And then if you don't understand what your gender is, then you can ask us, and we'll help you interpret your gender.
I think that's so cool because gender really is something to me that is like a journey, and it's a process, and it is something that does evolve and change over time, and it's a very personal journey for people too. So I think that's such a cool concept. Honestly, I was wondering where the name Compost Your Gender came from.
And actually, that description fits better than what I originally thought too, because I was thinking about it in the sense of like composting and giving. I think it like about giving back and renewing a little bit, which is to a degree that still applies. It just was, but I never even thought about it that way in the sense of like come back later and you'll have something new, because that's true for me in sexual orientation. My sexual orientation is a mess. So some days I'm just like, we'll get back to that in a couple of months. So, I do. So I was like, when you said that, I was like, oh, that resonates. That resonates. I love that. Oh, so
I mean, you don't have to decide anything now. You just start composting and then something else creates itself. And if you're done with that, you can throw it back in and come up with something different.
Yeah.
So earlier in the episode, you had mentioned that. So how many individuals do you currently live with? You said 5?
There are 7 in the house.
Okay.
Well, six living in the house and me living in a yurt. Victoria and I created 6 years ago. I've been living in yurts for maybe 15 years. Between yurts and living on a bicycle, traveling around Asia, or living in a container or a bus. I hate living in houses.
Yeah.
And I've always lived in groups. I think I've only once lived alone at university, and I didn't like it. And after that, I've lived and worked in the theater groups or the bands that I've been with.
Oh,
Wow,
that's so cool. I bet like creating music in your living environment must be really interesting then, because I'm assuming not all 7 people play instruments or love music in that specific kind of way. So how have you navigated that?
Well, I like living in the yurt because it's apart from the house.
Oh, yeah.
Music here whenever I want to. But of course, I love living in groups because it's this constant communication with the other people. Like I'm learning things from them. There's a lot of artists living here, even though we're not in the same performance group. They make books. They cut. They cut the paper and sew it together. They make the books, and they sing or play the saxophone. They paint. They make things out of wood, like toys for kids. It's different things. So yeah, of course we have to navigate who's doing what when. We can't walk on stilts and play loud music in the front yard if someone is trying to do meditation.
Yeah.
It's a give and take.
Absolutely.
We find times that everybody can do what they want to do.
That's really cool.
Yeah. How would you describe all of y'all's creative process when you're coming up with the album?
Yeah, like in the moment too. Like you're like, you know, how you said like everybody being part of the musical process, and being able to hear those ideas. Like, so really bring us into that.
Yeah, we definitely try to use the abilities of everybody, but also have a good sound at the end. Like when I try to make when I sit down to make a song, I usually start with samples that I like and just hack them up, put them together, get a beat going and think, oh, that sounds good. Or use the iPad or use the telephone, some app that has some samples. Or get a keyboard or some drum app and just start doing doom jack, or doom da doom da doom. Then start adding things, symbols, things that go ooh, or like play with anything that makes a sound, like what is this?
Yeah,
Glasses.
some sunglasses.
Yeah.
Or the mouse clicking might be a. So get a good rhythm going. I love to add the bass line then with the saxophone. I might listen to a sample that's a genre that I like trap, and then try to play it on the saxophone, put that in. Maybe the melody comes out someplace, but usually when I play this set, like the drum and the bass to Victoria, they're like, oh, and they sit down and start writing. And then words just come out and we record a voice over it. And then I would do harmonies for the saxophones, maybe add a bit of flute, then show it to Capitano and she would add another rap on top of it. I'm not exactly sure how Capitano came up with all of her songs. I think she was just up all night, a lot of nights, playing with 15,000 synthesizers and layering them all on top of each other until it's this big mess. And then we're like, can you take some of those off? Then we added the saxophones, then maybe replaced the bass line with a bass saxophone. You know, kind of the same way that Compost goes. You can throw it all together, take it off, add some more things.
Yeah.
And if you hear some of the songs, how we played them, like Chucharias, I think there's a recording on YouTube, how we did it a year ago and how we recorded it now, it's completely different. Like, if you see the live versions of the songs on there and then compare it to the ones that we did on the album, you'll hear the differences.
Oh, okay. Yeah, definitely. I'm going to definitely do that because I did like that song. The funny thing about music for me is I like a good beat and I like a rhythm and a message. Like those are the things that I really enjoy in music, and like so your music kind of has all three, and especially that song too.
Yeah, I like and there's a really good variety of language. I really like during is it Russian that Capitano was speaking during?
Yes, she's from.
Yeah.
Yeah, Capitano Barbaconia is from Moscow.
Yeah.
So we encourage her to rap in her own language.
It was so cool. I think Russian is one of the prettiest languages like to listen to. So I really enjoyed. I can't remember which song it was that I was listening to before this, but it was.
Well, on Joder Poder, which means fuck power.
Oh yeah.
She raps in Pionera de Pelo, which is the hair pioneer. She definitely tells her story of how this guy was looking at her legs and saying, "That's disgusting." And she was like, "You're disgusting."
I love that.
Yeah, I liked her story about the push-ups too. Oh, Effective Net was the one that we were.
Oh, Effective Net is the one that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, that's about how we live in community and polyamory is important.
I love that. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, we didn't immediately ask you what your sexual orientation is. Obviously, you're a queer group in all that capacity, but we didn't offer that. We just automatically assumed because of those labels. But how do you self-identify?
Oh yeah, we all say queer. I mean, you can call me gay because I'm attracted to men, but more I'm attracted to non-binary creative creatures. So queer definitely fits.
I think so
absolutely.
too. It's all encompassing. I love that label. So here's something that's interesting about that too. I've noticed that even the younger generation, some of our friends that we've talked to that are, I guess they would be considered Gen Z, they find like issue with the label queer because they found that at one point, you know, it was kind of seen as like an oppressive label, and a lot of people in our generation tend to like use it to describe themselves. So how are some ways that, you know, you navigate that with people kind of taking issue with certain, I guess, terminology?
I think that's the magic of the whole queer movement is that we keep taking these words back.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like the word faggot that much, but it's definitely a word that I love when it says faggots against fascists because they both start with an F.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh yeah, we're faggots. We fight fascists.
Oh, absolutely.
And queer means different, strange, unusual, weird. I've always called myself weird or strange or different. So queer is definitely a good word for that. Of course, in the 50s, if you're like, you're queer, I probably would have said, yes, I am.
Exactly.
And not taking much offense at it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Gay was also, it meant happy, but then it was like, oh, you're so gay. I'm like, well, yeah, I am. I'm happy. So
Yeah. Right.
what's wrong with that? Like, throw any word at me and I'll just make a song out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. I think that's a good mindset to have for sure.
I actually really appreciate the fact that you all use music to have to speak about social issues in a really bold way. I actually would say, because there's a difference between like having a hidden message to where people are like, oh, by the way, that song was like about the Holocaust. You're like, what? And you're like, huh? Like, I didn't even, what level? But your music, it speaks, and I like that because I don't have to. It's not a guessing game. It's really in your face.
Yeah, that's what, of course. I mean, our makeup is so in your face. We have to be too. Like the person who mixed our songs, did the masters. He said, "You really go hard." I'm like, well, that's what we want to talk about. Yes, I mean, we're not going to beat around the bush. It's like,
yeah.
Right. Do you consider yourselves to be anarchist? I know that some of your songs kind of.
I am, yes.
Yeah.
And Capitano Barbaconio is. I know that Victoria Sickness is definitely an anarchist, but he prefers not to say that.
Sure.
I don't know.
I know. We all have.
I also have no problem with communists. Just a problem with the way that people, like in the Soviet Union, have usurped communism to be state power.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm definitely a socialist, libertarian.
Right.
All of these things apply to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what made you? You said you've been traveling, roughly doing this lifestyle for roughly 15 years. You said,
at least.
Yeah. So, how did you get into it?
I was born a traveler. My parents were both teachers on military bases for the U.S. They say overseas, like anything outside the U.S. is overseas, but they lived in Okinawa, in Japan, in like northern Japan, in Seoul, Korea, in Turkey. And then when I was born, they said, let's get out of the US. Let's go back to Germany. And so I lived my first 9 years in Berlin and other little towns. And then just before the wall fell, we moved to Japan because they wanted to see a lot of snow. And I lived 9 years there until I was 18, graduated and moved to Ohio.
What?
Because they had a good multimedia program where I could learn video production and audio, music, theater, dance, all of this, journalism, graphic design. It was a great school, Ohio University, but the U.S. was crazy, so I left and moved to Germany, where there was an exchange program, and I stayed there for the next about 10 years. Then I took off on a bicycle with a bunch of clowns and circus performers, and we cycled all the way to Japan, passing through Russia and Ukraine, Poland, Slovakia, all these places, Mongolia, and then slowly came back and continued cycling for the next 4 years, going through Eastern Europe, going to Palestine, Jordan, all the while working at refugee camps and orphanages and playing music on the street, working with street kids. So I come with this energy of like traveling all of my life. And when I stopped doing a lot of things on the street and more settling down here in Barcelona, we made the band. And so we continued going on tour, trying to play as many places as possible and bring our message of destroying the hetero-patriarchy to anywhere that we can.
Yeah. I really appreciate the fact that you hit on those concepts of heteronormativity and cis-normativity and things like that, and like trying to really dismantle those and
it's good
break
to
those
disrupt
apart.
that. Yeah,
it is like because
and the forced gender binary.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
definitely.
Oh, absolutely. And I really
destroy
appreciate
the
those
binary.
messages. destroy it completely. Like, let's get it done.
Like, you ask what's our message? Destroy everything. Nina Simone said we're talking about destruction, and like, yes, the society needs to change. So let's destroy that and start over.
Oh, definitely.
Oh, absolutely.
There's just too many old systems that keep us down. We need to reimagine
systems.
Exactly.
Systems. Oh gosh, that's a great name for a drag show that's breaking the binary. Systems.
The systems.
Oh, that's stolen. Thank you.
Yeah. Coco's a new event manager, so she's gonna steal that.
Oh, absolutely.
Great.
That's gonna be good.
Maybe I can perform next time I go.
We would absolutely love that. That would be so cool to see you.
Yeah, whenever you come visit family.
I love Portland. It's such a great drag scene, and I get most of my costumes or my clothing from the places on Hawthorne. I love going to Powell's. My parents couldn't have picked a better place to go live 15,000 kilometers away.
Yeah.
But after the 24-hour flight, I enjoy being there.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing that I do love about Portland, which I even saw on your Instagram, is Portland obviously had those BLM protests for roughly about 3.5/4 months, and living in a place that wanted to have that conversation and didn't stop after it even got national attention and then worldwide attention, and kept pushing the narrative and pushing forward. Like, it's really cool to be in a place that really didn't stop pushing that message no matter what.
Yeah.
Even after the feds came in.
I think even the mayor made it a safe zone from whatever Trump was trying to push through. I was like, that's good.
Yeah, it was great. So Portland is kind of solid when it comes to that stuff.
It really is.
It really is. Portland specifically, and get 20 miles out of.
There's a lot of fun punks here for sure. Yeah.
And anarchists and
abolitionists. And
like David Rovix lives in your city.
Yeah.
Everybody lives here. It's a great place. Everybody's here. So let's talk a little bit more about your album. So what's your favorite song from the album?
I would have to say the main song, Compost Your Gender, because I created it.
Track. The title track is my favorite.
No, not really. Like, I like that one because it's so experimental. And we put in a lot of samples. That's one main thing that Victoria pushed to do, was put samples of revolutionaries to give them voice again, because I think especially every new generation needs to hear these people. Like Assata Shakur is still #1 most wanted criminal or something in the United States, and is in refuge in Cuba. And even when Cuba was opening up, having more relations with the U.S., that was one of the things that the U.S. said, we want you to release Assata Shakur. I'm like, she was a Black Panther, but she was framed. I mean, and that's just what the U.S. government does, is try to take one person, like they could take any of us and go after us for letting the entire queer community just to shut us up, So we put all of this in our song, and giving her voice, and giving, like, we have samples from John Waters movies with design, or
the heterosexual life is
that comes from another movie where there's it's like a punk revolution. We have Tribe 8 talking, or Kathleen Hanna from Bikini Kill. Like, these are our references. These are the people who inspire us, and we want their voices to speak for us or through us. And we break it up and put auto-tune on it. And so Compost Your Gender was the first song that we did that. And we thought, let's do that some more. So in every song, we were just going through the archives and getting great people.
I love the samples. I think
do too.
I think it's great that you make your message come alive through those.
But Lady Boy, I think, is the most fun song. It's hard to play. There's a lot of things that are not really on the beat, and it has a power. That was where we really got into the trap genre, I think.
It's a bop.
That was one of my favorites, actually.
Yeah.
I was going to bring that up. I was like, I like Ladyboy a lot.
Yeah.
And that was the last song we did. It was actually an afterthought. We were creating music to enter into a contest for semantics. And I was just making a beat, and Victoria started writing this lyrics over it, and it became our hit, and we put it in the album. We recreated something else for the contest, not to give it away.
Yeah. Nice.
I really, really, really appreciate that one. I'll put, by the way, listeners, I'll be obviously putting links to these songs that we're talking about on our website at a gemofaSecretPodcast.com.
Yes, and to your website. What are some things that you would like to plug on the podcast specifically for just to get some traffic to what you've done?
Our website is fabulous. It has a great all the history, the legend of Lady Marikarmen, stories about us, and there's a shop with all of our fabulous merchandising. It's a fantasy. I mean, we have the kit Barbacoño. You can make your own beard if you're a pretty person who looks kind of attackable. You can use the privileges of being a cis man by making your own beard and going out as a man in public. Don't let any of those cisgendered men annoy you anymore. And we have the Tears of Cis Men. It's great for any evening look. And we interviewed a lot. Awesome. We interviewed a lot of cis men at a festival in Germany and found out why they cry. You know, because they watched a Disney movie, or their partner left them 20 years ago, and that was the only time they ever cried. So all of these reasons are written on the bottles of cis tears. But don't put them in your eye. It's a organic olive oil with essential tea tree oil. You can use it for massages. It's very nice. We have nail gloves. You can get the album in 3 different formats. We just made cassettes. And for you listening on the radio, don't you love the sound of this?
I do.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
You remember that? You remember that?
Yes, I do.
You're bringing me back to the 90s real hard with that.
So we got this great boombox from the thrift store, and we're just dedicatedly making cassettes, composting them. We just tape over one side, write compost on it, and we made this great cover, and that's that. Then we have the CD, of course, that we designed, and we also have the entire album on a USB unicorn, which is so cute that it's a little unicorn in 4 different colors.
That's cool. That's awesome.
That's really
and
cool.
We made our own T-shirts, doing silk screening here in the house, and so you can get Ladyboy between your breastises, or you can have the face of Lady Marikarmen with Compost Your Gender, and you can even request special things. We can make them for you, and we can ship all over the world.
Cool.
That's so cool.
Well, you heard it here. There's a lot of really cool stuff in that merch store, so definitely
really
check
is.
that out. We'll make sure that we have that on the website for sure.
So I did have a couple of final questions for you. I wanted to know, what is it like? What is the queer culture like in Barcelona?
Barcelona is very anarchist and queer friendly. I mean, this was from the Civil War not too long ago. This was the bastion, is that a word, of the anarchist community fighting against the fascists and the communists at that time. And there's a lot of that still left over. In every little barrio, every community, or like pueblo, village, whatever, there's anarchist meetings or community groups like organizing the areas. It's dropped off in the past years, but it's still very active. And so, of course, trans feminist community finds a very safe haven here. And there's a lot of drag shows. There's a lot of different things going on, like events.
Great. That's really great.
And talks, films that are shown publicly. I don't go down to Barcelona that much unless I'm performing, but it's very active there.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Seriously, that's so great. The other thing I was going to ask about that scene with you, obviously, because assuming sometimes you guys still play in public spaces or on the street or things like that, have you ever gotten hate crimed from playing your music?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Not ever.
I mean,
hopefully.
obviously I expect it. I mean, like, I'm changing the way I express myself a lot. I've always been kind of normative, but with nails maybe, or big glasses. I mean, I think I'm normal, but then looking at this, you know. But I've never wanted to be completely flamboyant in public because I do see other people getting harassed. Or Victoria and a girlfriend, a trans friend, they were just walking across the street on some Monday afternoon, and this guy waiting to drive starts honking the horn and like, "You faggot Marika, get out of the street." I'm like, this in my barrio? What's happening? So there is stuff on the streets that we need to watch out for. The schools are also not nice to queer kids. I mean, there's a lot of Catholicism. There's a lot of right wing. It's like the U.S. There's 50% of the people here support. We have a king, you know that? They support the king and all of the descendants of the fascists who are still in politics. So with every like bright side of being anarchist queer space, there's all the backlash. And since I'm not in the city, I don't deal with that on a daily basis.
Makes sense.
I mean, that was the interesting thing too, I think, about coming to Portland, where it's like we went from being in Western Colorado, which was very red, to coming here and it being this very nice, like, queer mecca, but being surrounded by places like Vancouver, where, you know, the Proud Boys were kind of born, and there's these like different alt-right militias too that kind of surround us in Oregon as well.
Absolutely.
Or I mean, there's these little castles of independence everywhere. Like where I went to Ohio University, Athens was a queer mecca. We had so many different queer groups. I was in Swarm of Dykes, Open Doors, where you could go Wednesdays and just talk about different questions of sexuality. And then there were the preachers that came and shouted at us at the college greens. But going outside of Athens was another world. We were doing Safe Communities in Schools project, doing this theater thing where kids could ask us about anything they wanted to know. And we had a hard time getting that into schools, or even giving queer books to schools, because the principals would say, "We don't have any queer people here." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, you do, but can we talk with them, please?" So you get these communities, and then outside of the valley is the rest of the world.
So, do you have any final message for our listeners that you want to give out?
Dance every day. I think that's the most important thing you can do. I wake up and put on "Dance with Me All Night," dance, or like, just keep moving for your own health. That's good, but keep reinventing yourselves. Listen to music and express yourself through music. Sing yourself. Like, there's people might say you sing badly, and they might be right, but in your own mind, you're good. And just sing as loud as you can, everywhere you can, and until you feel happy about it, and go on with what you want to do.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's so cool. Well, Contàmina, it was really great talking with you and getting this opportunity. And if you are in Portland and would like to perform, we would love to see you and hang out.
Yeah, we'll find a spot for you.
That would be
somewhere.
fabulous.
Just give us 24
Muchas
hours
gracias.
notice so your plane ride. All right, everybody, that brings us to the end of our episode. Thank you all so much for listening. This has been a really wonderful experience here. We'll have all of their information on our website and point to theirs because it has the history.
Yes.
And for your Spanish listeners, muchas gracias, composta tu género. And for your Arabic listeners, shukran katir.
Keep going. No, just...
For your point, obrigado. Spasiba balshoy.
Yes.
Vielen
Spasiba.
Dank. Arigato gozaimashita.
That's awesome. It is. All right, everybody. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
See you someday. Bye. Arrivederci.
This has been another episode of A Gem of a Secret podcast. The hosts of A Gem of a Secret podcast are Donatella My Secrets and Coco Gem Holiday. You may follow Donatella My Secrets at Donatella_My Secrets on Instagram. You may follow Coco Gem Holiday at Coco Gem Holiday on Instagram. Original music by Touche Douche and Party Favors. You can follow them respectively at The Touche Douche and at Party Favors Music on Instagram. For more exclusive content, visit www.agemofasecretpodcast.com. That is AJEM of a secret podcast.com. Be sure to tune in every week on Thursday for a new episode wherever you listen to podcasts. If you have any comments or questions, email us at agemofasecretpod@gmail.com. Please don't forget to like, rate, and subscribe. Until next time, goodbye.